Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and right alongside here every week, of course, is my partner in crime, if you will, LPGA professional and Legends Tour player, Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Believe it or not, I'm grateful that it cooled down in Buffalo. It was like 90 on Mother's Day. So we went from winter to heat of summer.
Yeah, I know. It's been like that here recently. This past week in Florida, it just seems to be creeping up, and which is traditional, anyways. But yeah, that's unusual for Buffalo weather. Let me real quick, Cindy, before we continue on, let me just remind everybody. Of course, we are live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern time here on Blog Talk Radio's Women of Golf show. And easiest way, of course, to get us is go to blogtalkradio.com. Up in the search key, type Women of Golf, and that will take you to the main page. And the current show, which is what you're hearing today, will always be at the top, and you'll be able to listen to that live during that time slot. Otherwise, you can go down a little further on the page, and you'll see what's called the on-demand section, very much like your cable company on-demand section. And you can pick and choose any of the previously recorded programs that you may have missed live. And we're hoping you're joining us live here. But if not, that's how you can get us. Also, you can, if any time during the show, you can call in during the live broadcast, which again is 9 to 10 Eastern on Tuesdays. The number to call is area code 347-945-5855. And you can also email questions or comments to womenofgolf@gmail.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can email Cindy at cindymillergolf.com. Or if you want to get in touch with Cindy about what she does, some great instruction, or just talk a little golf, you can reach out to Cindy that way as well. Or you can also get in touch with me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Got a great show for you this morning. Do our general hellos here in just a moment, but we have a couple of great guests on. The first one coming up here shortly is Alejandra Llaneza. She is the winner of the Symetra Tours this past weekend, the Self Regional Healthcare Foundation Women's Health Classic. She is the winner this past weekend, as I said. And then a little bit later in the show, Angela Aulenti is the director of golf and head professional at Sterling Farms Golf Club, which I believe is up in Connecticut. Real quick, Cindy, just to finish up what I was saying, each month we'll give you a total, and then it will have the breakdown of what the live, and then it'll also the grand total.
Got it.
Got it. Forget what you heard, ladies and gentlemen. That was just something that we were talking about off the air, so I just wanted to clarify that. A lot of great golf this past weekend. Of course, the Players' Championship. I didn't get to watch it all, and I know that you were busy. We're going to talk about what you were doing here in just a second. But Ricky Fowler, of course, won the Players' Championship for 2015 in actually a sudden death playoff against Kevin Kisner and Sergio Garcia. And just a couple of quick notes. And I don't understand this. I mean, everybody gets a little ribbing, but Sergio, apparently, it's been blowing up on the internet that I guess he had quite a few hecklers in the crowd and a lot of jabbing and whatnot. And the last person I think you want to heckle is Sergio Garcia, because he doesn't take it very lightly. And I understand he chomped back at the crowd a couple times. But did you get a chance to watch any of it at all, Cindy, or no?
I didn't. I was caddying. I am the golf mother, and we had 12 students playing in the U.S. Kids Golf Tournament up at Hickory Stick, which is a Seneca Niagara casino golf course near Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. And I was caddying for Adriana Pliska, and she played in her second tournament ever, and she came in fourth, and she got a medal. And then we went out and watched the rest of the kids finish, and some of them were 6 years old, and my Lily Zhang shot 39, and she won her first tournament. So pretty good for 6 years old, huh?
Wow, no, you're not kidding. Maybe a future champion in the mix here on the Symetra and then eventually Legends or the LPGA Tour. Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's exciting. When you're 6 years old, it doesn't take much to get you excited, but when you win something like that, she'll be talking about that for weeks, I guarantee it.
Absolutely. She will be.
Yeah. And what were some of the other obviously it's a younger group, and so they're
from 5 to 14 years old. Mm-hmm. Matt Jackson shot 78. We had a couple kids, Peyton, who he played 9 holes with us Friday and played his first tournament on Sunday. And his dad travels a lot, and I thought that his dad had played golf. So when his dad got there, I was giving him the quick lowdown on what to do caddy. And I said, well, because you play. And he said, no, I don't play golf. I go, oh. boy. Oh, boy. So Peyton was paired with 2 kids that, win every week.
Yeah.
And I walked up at the end after we finished with Lily, and I said to one of the dads, I said, holy cow, thank you so much for being so nice. And he said, are you kidding me? My son's a little prima donna. This Peyton has got the best attitude of any 6-year-old I've ever seen in my life. So I was grateful for their good attitudes, because I was a little concerned, that they would want to kill him, because, he definitely, I'm sure, broke a lot of rules, but nobody really cared because he shot 71 for 9 holes. So,
wow.
Anyway, and you know what's funny? I walked up to him and he said, oh, Miss Cindy, I am so happy I'm here. If I hadn't come here today, I would be so sad. I have 2 brand new friends. And then he runs up to his shot, and he shanks it, and it's going right towards the lake, and it hits a pole, and it bounces back on the grass. And he said, thank you, Mr. Pole. You saved my ball from the water. And I thought, oh, God bless you.
Out of the mouth of babes, right?
Right.
It's interesting. Now, were there any of the? I mean, obviously you couldn't watch everybody at the same time necessarily, but were there any other of the juniors that were there that really kind of stood out with their play, that you can really see that, hey, this youngster's got a pretty sharp game, and I can see some things happening down the road. Was there anybody that specifically?
Well, one of the girls in our group, I can tell you that Kayla Butkowski, who was another student of mine, and Adriana, we were together in a group, and then we had another girl from Toronto, Gia, who was a little peanut, and you can tell golf savvy from long ways away, and it doesn't matter how old you are. And Kayla shot her best round ever. She shot 52 and came in third. But this little Gia shot 40.
Wow.
For 9 holes. And there's a fine line and a balance between parental pressure and children wanting to play. I mean, this little girl lined up every single putt. She had the ball lined up with the putter, which is going towards the hole. And then when we got done, I saw her parents out on the golf course when we went to find Peyton, and she had a little brother who shot 36.
Wow.
Who was 6. So part of me is admiring their play, and the other part of me is feeling sorry for them having parents like they have.
Yeah.
So, there's a fine line.
Well, and the thing is, I agree with you. I think it's, obviously if there's some talent there, you want to encourage it, but I think that sometimes as parents you have to be careful, not to be caught up in the moment and be a little bit overzealous and put too much pressure. I mean, the main thing is at that age, especially at 6, you want them to have fun, and if it's something that they gravitate to and say, hey, Mom, Dad, this is something that I really enjoy and I think I'd like to play more, then that's fantastic. But just because they've maybe got some talent, I don't think you necessarily have to rope them into a lifelong professional career if that's not really what's in their, because a lot of times kids will do what their parents want, and because they're at that age they're wanting to please and they're wanting to make Mom and Dad happy, and you just got to be careful at that. But well, that's fantastic, and you get to really see a lot of great up and comers, but and just people out having fun. But you get to also work with some of these youngsters, I imagine, as well, teaching them. Correct?
I do, and Alan does as well, and we really enjoy it. It's so much fun.
Do you now, without stepping on anybody's toes in specific, do you enjoy working, do you think, with some of the youngsters more so than adults, or is it kind of about 50-50? And that's not to criticize the adults, but do you enjoy with some of the juniors just because there is such a zest for wanting to get better, whereas a lot of times as we get older, there isn't that same drive and energy, or do you not notice a difference?
It doesn't have anything to do with age. It really has everything to do with desire. So yeah. I really enjoy helping people who want to get better. And that's the beautiful thing about, teaching golf. If I was teaching school, you don't have an option of whether or not you show up. On the driving range, you choose to be there. So right. Some more than others. And you know what, I think it was great because another little boy, Cal, came and played in his first tournament ever, and he's 10, and a lot of times he doesn't really pay attention to his lessons. It's almost like he's being dragged there, and he's such a nice young man. And I didn't get a chance to see him. Alan did see him at the tournament, but I was, busy caddying, so I texted his parents, and I said, how did it go? And they said, well, he started out really strong, and then he had a meltdown in the middle, and the tears showed up, but he rallied at the end, and they said, he was surprised at how far the boys hit the ball, and he really was a trooper, and now he's looking forward to practicing. So I kind of like to throw these kids into the mix to see, do you really want to do this, and you're either going to love golf or hate golf when we're done here? Yeah. And I think Cal's now going to be motivated to say, whoa, I'm not going to let those boys beat me. I didn't realize how bad I was, and now I really want to work on it. And it's funny because Peyton came in yesterday, and he hit the ball better than he's ever hit it. And I said, wow, I think it helps you to watch these boys. He was, oh, Miss Cindy, I had so much fun. I want to do this again. So it's just, what a great thing that U.S. Kids Golf does. Just awesome.
It is. It's fun to watch, just the expressions on their face. And there is a certain amount of, obviously, competitiveness against one another, but it's not, it's just, especially some of the younger ones see, the little bit older, see how accomplished they're getting, and they want to sort of emulate that. It's kind of, much like a son with his father almost. A lot of times when they see the older kids, they say, well, wow, I want to do that too. So it kind of gets their juices flowing, if you will, and wanting to get out there and give it their best. So what a great time to spend on your weekend. And obviously you enjoyed your Mother's Day. So
I did.
All right. Well, I see that our guest is ready, so let me just read a little bit here, and we will bring her on and talk a little bit about her win this past weekend. As we mentioned earlier on, and I'm going to apologize to her if I've got this incorrect, but I believe it's Alejandra Llaneza, who was the winner of this past weekend Symetra Tour's Self Regional Healthcare Foundation Women's Health Classic, and she is a 5-time Mexican junior national champion and was a member of the 2008 Mexican national team at the World Amateur Golf Team Championships. She played college golf at the University of Arizona and was named the 2008 Pac-10 Conference Honorable Mention. She won the 2011 Cactus Tour event at Wigwam and was became a member of the Symetra Tour in 2012. Mentioned, as I said, she was from the University of Arizona. 5-time state champion, Mexico City. 5-time national champion. Picked up first place finish at the Texas Junior Golf Tour and first place at the Juniors American Cup. Finished third at the Callaway Junior World Championship and just played a whole host of other events. Played 6 times actually in the LPGA tournaments in Mexico, and actually has the same coach, golf swing coach, as Lorena Ochoa. So let's bring Alejandra out, and we'll talk a little golf with her this morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Welcome. Let me just say first, is it Alejandra?
Yeah, it's Alejandra Llaneza. How are you?
All right. We're doing very well. You're on with Cindy Miller, and, of course, I'm Ted Odorico. First off, congratulations on your win.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really exciting.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you a little bit about that, but I just wanted to start off. Obviously, I know you're fairly young, but when did you first begin playing golf?
When I was 6 years old. I'm 26 now.
Wow. Was there anybody growing up that sort of inspired you to get into the game? Was there anyone that you watched on TV or maybe visiting a tournament that you watched that was sort of an idol, if you will, growing up in golf?
Well, I started going with my dad on weekends, but I watched Tiger Woods and Lorena Ochoa a lot, and they were my main inspiration growing up.
Very good. Did you know fairly early on that you wanted to compete professionally? Was there a point when you kind of said, this is something I would like to do, or did that sort of come a little bit later in your career?
No, it was actually pretty early when I was 11 years old and I won my first national tournament. I made a putt on the last hole to force a playoff, and then I won the playoff, and I liked the competition so much, and I love the game. So since that point, I said I want to play this game for a long time.
Wow, fantastic. And I believe...
What do you like?
Go ahead, Cindy.
What do you like best about golf?
I like that it just always teaches you something about yourself or about your game. It's always challenging, and it never really lets you get to a point where you can say, oh, I got it 100%. I love the fact that you always have something that you can improve, and it's like, even though you can have an amazing day, the next day you start over, so I like that.
One of the things I try to instill in my students, whether they're old or young, is that no matter how good you get, you're always working on something. So I used to do a lot of clinics for the Hartford Insurance Company on the Symetra Tour, and when I interviewed the girls that would help me teach these clinics, I would always say, I'm going to ask you who you are, where you're from, where you went to college, and what are you working on? So I would like to ask you, what are you personally working on right now?
Well, I think for a long time I've been working on playing one shot at a time. I worked with Lorena's coach, but then I actually switched and started working with Susie Myers in Tucson, Arizona, and she works on something called Plan A. So that is just hitting every shot that like you're just starting over. So I work on that for a long time, and then currently I moved to Dallas and I'm working with Jonathan Buchanan, and we've been working on the same thing and then making some swing changes to just have a more consistent swing, I guess. But I think always the constant theme is to treat each shot the same and give it the same importance and make sure that I do the best on that shot.
Super.
So tell us a little bit about your win this past weekend.
Yeah, it was really exciting. It actually came at a perfect time because I was coming from the LPGA tournament in Dallas, where it seemed like a lot of different things and happened, and some bounces not going my way. So it was one of those hard learning experiences. I knew I wouldn't get the best reshuffle into the rest of the season, so I was talking to my caddy, and he said, let's go play in Greenwood, because I played there last year, and work on little things that we had during the course, like decision making and just strategy. And so we just stayed very positive all week and stayed confident on the strategy, and the results took care of themselves.
Did you make the cut in the LPGA event in Dallas?
I made the first cut. The first day I was actually leading the tournament, and then we got on the clock, and I ended up getting a 2-stroke penalty. So I fell down to 1 under. So I was still okay. Then I got it back to 4 under in the second round. Then had some unfortunate. First, I had a double where I hit my line and unfortunately get a bad kick and made a birdie, but then I had 2 more doubles, so I made the cut on the number, and then the last day I had a bogey on the last hole to miss the second cut. So it was just a roller coaster, but looking back, I think it was very helpful, and it's like doing what golf does, which is keep you humble and making sure that you stay grounded. And so I was able to do that last week and really enjoyed my time in Greenwood. And they always have such a warm welcome there.
Fantastic. Alejandra, let me ask you, just to sort of expand a little bit on what Cindy was just talking about. Do you try to, when you go to a tournament like you did last week in Dallas, and obviously it didn't go the way you would have hoped, do you always try to make sure that you learn something from that experience? You try to take something from that experience to propel you into future tournaments?
Yes, I think that's the biggest thing, and the only thing that really can keep you improving is the learning experiences. So, and I think we all know we learn more sometimes from the bad than from the good, even though maybe at the time, I couldn't see why everything was happening. But yeah, every tournament that I've played has been a big learning experience, and I've tried to take that experience onto the next one. And like I was saying before, it's always a learning process, no matter how good you are. But yeah, I mean, even Greenwood was a great experience because I learned that how to deal with the pressure, like leading the tournament, playing the round, losing the lead, and then getting it back again. That was also a big learning experience, and it helped my confidence too going into this week.
You said that you had the lead and then you lost it, and then of course gained it back. When in the tournament did you first take the lead, and then tell us just a little bit about how what happened when you lost it, and then where in the tournament did you regain it, and of course ultimately go on to win?
Yeah, it was like Dallas, but it was opposite this time. The second round, I was having an okay round, not great ball striking, not great putting. I was even for through 13, and I was speaking to my caddy. He's like, okay, like this is one of those rounds where things are not really going that well. So why don't you find something a good feeling that you can go back to when you get into rounds like this. And I don't know how it happened, but then I birdied 15. Then on 16, I holed it from 154 yards.
Wow!
Holy cow!
Yeah, and then 17 is a very tough green, so I actually 3-putted that hole. But then 18, they had the tees up, so it was a reachable par 5, and I green into with a 7-wood and made the eagle putt. So it was just a crazy finish. eagle, birdie, or birdie, eagle, bogey, eagle. So I never had anything like that. So at that point, I believe I was 1 or 2 back, but I felt like I had really good momentum. And the next day, I shot 3 under and took a 2-shot lead. And then the last round, I started out. I made bogey on 1, and Tim and Kang made a birdie on 1. So then we were all tied. And then Casey Grice played some amazing golf the last round. So making the turn on the last round, I was 2 down. But talking to my caddy, I said, okay, this is where the tournament starts, and this is where we start going for the birdies. And made a birdie on 10. That was very important, and long putt on 14. And then it came down to the last hole, and I was tied with Casey, and it was so exciting. It was the tees were up again, so we could get to the green in 2. And I was in a green side bunker, but I was further from her, who was short of the green, and actually finished this like Tiger, just hold it from the bunker. And I had a good lie, and it looked good, and it almost went in. I hit it to about 2 inches.
Wow, nice. That's definitely
awesome.
nice. Yeah, that's a nice finish, for sure. And so obviously, as you said a few moments ago, that you try to learn from all of your experiences because it gives you again that momentum for future. Now, was this your first win on the Symetra Tour?
Yes, it was. My first professional win was on the Cactus Tour, and
right.
It was last year, but I think they didn't have it up there. But yeah, I had a runner-up 2 years ago finish on the Symetra Tour, but I had never been on the lead and been really so close to winning. So it was really exciting for me to be able to win this event, the South Regional Classic.
Now, forgive us for not knowing, but you must have some status on the LPGA Tour, or you wouldn't have been able to play in Dallas?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You must have some status on the LPGA Tour.
Yes, I had conditional status last year, and then I finished. I played well on some tournaments, but at the end of the year, I finished 105 on the money list. So I kept some status on the LPGA. So I played. I got into Hawaii, where I didn't make the cut, and then I got into Dallas, and so I made the first cut. So now I was able to get into Kingsmill this week.
Oh, perfect! I'm flying there tonight.
Oh, great.
I'm going to come and find you Wednesday.
Yes. I'll be there and make sure you find me.
Perfect. I'm filming a commercial for the LPGA on Thursday morning, so I'm going to come and introduce myself to you.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
So, Alejandra, obviously fresh off a win this past weekend, what thoughts are going to go through your mind in preparation for this coming week in Kingsmill?
Well, I think I'm just going to take the confidence and all the positives that I felt on the golf course and that I worked on with my caddy. But it's like starting Thursday is just a whole new event, and I love this golf course, so I'm just gonna enjoy the event, and now that I was able to win over there and have an okay position, a good position on the race for the card, I feel like I can focus more on playing good golf instead of worrying so much about reshuffles and cuts and all of that. So I'm just gonna try to do the same thing over here.
You know what I've learned from you is absolutely when you think the worst is happening, you have not given up, and that is what's going to make you very, very successful. So great job with not giving up. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Thank
fantastic.
You, yeah.
Just very quickly on your actual game, Alejandra, what do you think is your strongest part of your game, and what's your weakest area of your game that you need the most work on?
I think strongest is my driving accuracy and putting or short game, I would say. And then I've been working a lot on the shots into the green, which are okay, but can use some improvements. But I think that's what I've seen improve this year more with some of the swing pitches. I feel like I've been able to get closer to the flag and have a better ball flight. But yeah, I would say those are the ones that need more work.
We know from 150 yards in, obviously you've gotten very accurate there because you hold out on one of the holes in the tournament, so that's always nice to get. What advice, if anything, do you have for somebody that's maybe just starting out, that's a little bit younger than you, that's maybe got some aspirations to playing golf and obviously has a pretty good game? What advice, based on the experiences you've learned, would you give them in starting out?
I would say to be persistent and just make sure that you're still enjoying the game and remember the reason why you play it. And I think for me last year it was big experience playing LPGA tournaments. It's tough when you get out here and you start comparing yourself or wondering, am I just as good as them, and they look like they hit it better or farther, or so I think the main thing is not to compare yourself and know that golf is just giving you a golf course that you can play against. So if you can just focus on your game, then that will be very helpful.
That's great advice.
Some very great advice. So Alejandra, we want to thank you for joining us this morning, and congratulations again on your win this past weekend. And we hope that it propels you this week, maybe in win number 2. And we want to wish you luck. We want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf show, and much continued success in the career. And I know Cindy's going to try and reach out to you this week when she's out in Kingsmill as well. So I hope you're able to meet with Cindy and share some great stories while you're there.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, and I thank you for having me on the show and letting me talk to you guys. Thank you.
And best of luck. Keep up that great attitude.
Thank you. I will do my best.
All right.
Good luck
Thank
this
you.
week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow, what great energy too! You can hear it in her voice, and obviously very passionate about playing this game. I didn't know you were going. I didn't know you were going to Kingsmill this week.
I am. I have the privilege of shooting a public service announcement for the LPGA and the teaching division and the tour, and I'm doing that Thursday morning, and I fly down there tonight. So all day tomorrow, I'm going to go film golf swing.
Very good, and can't think of a better person to be selected to do that than, of course, our very own Cindy Miller. Boy, you get some great gigs, don't you?
I do. I'm very, very, very fortunate. I really, you know what? You got to be grateful.
Yep.
And
you are.
Give and be grateful.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've said all along, and for those of you tuning into the program this morning, let me just say you're listening to my co-host, who is probably one, if not the hardest working women in golf, and you just do a fantastic job, as we heard a little earlier on when you were talking about this past weekend. But you're just always, doing something not only, and it's not just about improving your own game. It's about giving back to others, and that's really where the fun begins. We can all have a great time out there playing in tournaments and playing our own game, but it's fun to do something, and this profession allows us that opportunity to give back.
It sure does. It sure does. And I got to tell you, the next person we've got coming on the air is my mentor and my hero, who does work harder than me, I must tell you.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk to her, and she's actually ready here. Let me just do a quick introduction here, and then we'll bring her out. Of course, Cindy's talking about our next guest, Angela Aulenti. who is the director of golf, head professional at Sterling Farms Golf Club up in Connecticut. And it's indicative of her dedication to the profession. Angela's appointment as the first female head professional in Connecticut. She's an LPGA and PGA member. Recently voted one of the top 50 instructors in the country by Golf for Women magazine. And she's a very dedicated, articulate, and incisive teacher with a following of many students. Cindy, obviously, you were one. One of Angela's greatest strengths lies in her ability to explain and demonstrate the golf swing clearly and simply, which is something we all need to do in this profession. And as a former tour player, she brings a rich playing background to her teaching experience, and recently includes being a qualifier for the Women's Senior Golf Tour, which is the Legends, of course. She was the 2011 LPGA Professional of the Year, and 2012 she was inducted into the Connecticut Hall of Fame. And many other accolades, but let's get her on the air and let's talk to Angela. Good morning, Angela, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing very well.
We're doing
Cindy,
great.
Cindy was just bragging about. Yeah, Cindy was just bragging about you. So, Cindy, you go ahead, and I'll let you start off.
Thank you, Angela, so much for being on the show. And I know that you've done a lot of different things for a lot of different people. The other thing is she's the president of the LPGA Northeast section, and has been, and she serves more than anyone I know. But what I would like to talk to you about today is the fact of reinventing your business, if you will, and becoming the Callaway National Club Fitter of the Year. Would you mind sharing a little bit of what inspired you to build your facility?
Well, first of all, I thought I saw the industry changing a little bit, and I thought that if I could just do something that really wasn't done locally where I am, that maybe I could reinvent my business and in the process reinvent myself. So about 6 years ago, I built a club fitting teaching studio with the help of Callaway Golf, and really it's grown my business a tremendous amount. This year I got into the top 100 club fitters in America, which was very exciting. And really, it's not a new and different way and not a new and different approach. It's a little bit special. You know, when people come, we have them bring their clubs. We really want to see what their clubs do. You know, so we map out what their clubs do. We find their weaknesses and or gaps, and in the process, people really see when they get the clubs that are fit for them, or the right shaft, or the right length, that it can be game-changing. So, you know, we don't make decisions on one perfect shot, but we make a decision based on many, many swings and many, many shots.
And many, many facts.
And many, many facts. So I use TrackMan. Gives us over 25 bits of information, not all of which I use for fitting. Some of the information that comes from TrackMan is for teaching. So when I'm doing a fitting, I don't really go over that with them. I'll go over it at the end, or I'll send that information to their instructor about the teaching part of it to help them. But I will say that normally numbers don't lie. You know, when I do a fit, I can't feel what the student or person feels, and I don't really know what people like to look at. But other than that, if they can give me feedback on that, we can dial it in pretty easily.
Well, we did the LPGA workshop in the spring, and the woman that we had as a, lab rat, basically, the difference in how far she hit it was, 10 or 15 yards with one club?
Right. Well, here's the thing. I think most people, well, first of all, her clubs were like 13 years old. So the fact that we do change in 13 years, even though we don't like to admit it, we do change. And those clubs that might have been great for her then didn't fit her now. And I believe that the technology that's in golf clubs right now is it's just crazy good. It's just crazy good. So it makes a difference. And everybody needs to hit it higher and farther.
Right. Angela, let me ask you a question just on that principle. Obviously, as we age and we get a little bit older, our swing changes a little bit. Obviously, we don't swing as fast as we did maybe when we were in our 20s, and certain things we maybe don't have the same flexibility. Is it important to maybe be refit, if you will, at a later point, especially if you've been playing the same clubs for umpteen years? Is it important to every once in a while be checked out to make sure that the clubs are working for you the way they should be?
Absolutely. And
How
sometimes
often?
It's not you have to change your whole bag every year scenario. It's not that. But sometimes if you play a lot, the loft change and the lie changes. So if you go to a good place that does a good fit and they check loft and lie and length and all that stuff, and it has changed, we can just adjust it back. Mm. Everybody's different with the amount. I mean, I have some people that come every year because they want everything that's new.
Right.
Every 3 or 4 years, the technology changes. Significantly changes, And I also think that if you look at what's come into the golf industry right now, everything's going much lighter. Adjustability and lighter. So you can adjust it if your swing changes with drivers and fairway woods and hybrids, which is fabulous because then it's not an investment every year. If your swing changes, you can just tweak the club a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And lighter, in theory, you can hit it faster. You can swing faster.
How can we sort of get across to the average golfer out there? Obviously, those at a professional level, they understand it and they get it, but a lot of amateurs don't, especially somebody first starting out, they don't, I think, appreciate or understand the importance of being fit properly. They just sort of feel they can go to whether it to be a pro shop or their local Dick's or some other sporting outlet and just pick up a set off the wall and think they're going to be fine. Why is that not a good thing necessarily to do, even for a beginning golfer? Why is it important to be fit?
Well, first of all, I think that's going to go back to our golf professionals, our PGA and LPGA professionals. They need to get educated more on how important club fitting is so that when they have a new student, then they can really show them how much easier we can make the game. Because the bottom line is we're all in it for people to play, to make the game easy and have fun.
Sure.
Nobody we don't want to make the game more difficult. So if we can educate our professionals a little bit more and they can get a little bit more passionate about that part of it, then I think that's an easy transition from taking their first few lessons to fitting them. And when I talk about fitting, I'm not saying that everyone needs to come for a TrackMan fit, but I will tell you that there's no excuse now for people to not have the right length, lie, loft on their clubs because you can get it in a beginner set.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that I would challenge Cindy that if we got a 30 handicap, that I could put a club in their hand that could make them better within 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
So let me ask you, because I know your passion, and I'm not sure everyone has the right intent and passion. So how would someone do that if they don't have access to all the information?
Well, everyone has access to certain amount of information. I do not personally believe that you can go into a box store and hit into a net and believe everything that they tell you. So that's my first. So I would suggest for anyone who's listening, if you want to be fit, you need to go to a range where you can see ball flight because ball flight doesn't lie. And then from there, they can make their own deduction. Everybody knows if the ball goes up and it goes 7 or 8 yards farther, that's good. We don't always need a machine to tell us that. But when they hit into a net, they don't always see that. And I believe that if you go into go to a facility and they're always trying to sell you a whole new bag, then you need to let the flag go up a little bit and say, you know what, I really just want to do my driver. Or because some people do want to just sell. I just want people to get better. I don't want them to have all these gaps in their bags and their distances.
So what would you tell our listeners to do if they don't live anywhere near you in Connecticut?
So the first thing I would do is I'd go on the Golf Digest website and I'd look at the top 100 club fitters. That'd be the first thing I would do, and I'd try and find the one nearest to them. I mean, there's some in every state. If they can't do that, then I would suggest they talk to their PGA and LPGA professionals, because they might know someone or they can do it. I mean, my belief is that if they can use their person they're taking from to suggest, then they're both on the same path.
How do you you said you can get a starter set that's fit for someone. Tell me how to do that.
Well, I mean, Adams has them. Cobra has them. Tour Edge has them. You know, that might.
With
I'm not saying it's going to be 100% length and lie. Yes.
Really?
Length and lie. Yeah. Yeah. So you can get package sets. So you don't want a woman who's 5 feet getting a regular length. So you can get them. Yeah. You can get them a different length.
So Adams, Cobra, and Tour Edge.
Tour Edge. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. You're right, though, Angela. That the technology changes, so much, and every year, when you go down to the PGA show in Orlando, you see just so many new products and equipment and things like that. What were some of the best products, do you think, for 2015 in your estimation that you've seen?
So just so you know that I do the testing. I do all the testing before I allow the clubs to be in my studio. So I don't put everything in there just because it's new. So just know that.
Yep.
I would say that the new Callaway driver, the XR driver, and the Alpha 815 have been super popular. And the other thing that's happening in the industry now is a couple of the companies are now putting upgraded aftermarket shafts in their golf clubs for the same price as a regular stock shaft. So that means that the shafts that people used to pay not all of them, but $200 or $300 for extra, they can now get it in the driver. So that also makes hitting, I would say drivers especially, makes it more consistent. Because you have a much tighter wound graphite. It really, some of the lower end shafts, the graphite's so thin that the ball can go right one time, left one time. So it narrows dispersion a little bit. So I would say, number one, Callaway. Cobra is always a sleeper. Their stuff is really good this year. And
really?
Ping, the new G30, the low spin head. So here's an example where Ping clubs tend to always fly high, and they knew that, so they came out with a low spinning head, and it's fabulous. So now it fits everyone. We have something for everyone in Ping. And Titleist is always, a solid.
Yeah, Titleist always has some good products.
They always have. Their product now is not just for the best players. They've made it a little bit more user friendly for the average golfer.
Yeah, I really like their drivers too. Let me ask you as well, Angela. Just going back to more of the club fitting and that, I think another area that gets overlooked by a lot of golfers, even the amateur golfers, especially, and I'm talking about when you're purchasing new sets of clubs, is to make sure that the grips are fitted properly. A lot of times people just take it as is off the shelf. They might get other things and they overlook the grip. Grips kind of come, standard, if you will, and obviously we all have different sized hands. That's obviously important as well, to make sure that you're fitted properly for the grip.
Yes. So what we do a couple things for grip is size. So when you put your hand on the club, you really just want your fingers to barely touch your palm, just barely. And that's assuming that somebody has a really good grip. So that's the catchy part there. That's a touchy part right there. Is if their grip isn't great, and they put the club in their palm, when they put their fingers on the club, it's in a funny spot, the grip. So we do that, and then it's what people like to feel in their grip. Some people like a softer wind-type feel. Mm-hmm. Some people like a little firmer grip. Some people, I would say in general that most people use grips that are too heavy. So if you're going to have a light club, you need a light grip, like an Ionic. and Lampkin also has a very light grip. So I kind of explain all that when I go through the process.
How do you help somebody that just doesn't have a clue? You get obviously students that come in that really don't understand all of the things that you've just talked about. How do you help guide them? I mean, obviously, that ultimately the decision is theirs. They have to go by maybe feel. Obviously, there's certain aesthetics. Some people like the look of a certain club. How do you help somebody that really, comes into your shop or your studio and just says, look, I haven't got a clue at what to do here? How do you sort of advise them and guide them along without really sort of overtaking and saying, okay, this is what you need to buy over here?
So I go through the process of explaining what TrackMan does. I explain to them what I look at and what numbers I look at. And I also look at the dispersion of the balls they hit. Like I said earlier, that one perfect ball doesn't make you buy a club.
Right.
I ask them what they're looking for. You get a better player. Sometimes they spin it too much. Sometimes they don't spin it enough. They need to hit it higher. They need to hit it lower. So the better players know what they're looking for. The new golfers just most of the time, 99% of the time, want to hit it far.
Right.
They say, so then trying to reel that in becomes a little bit more difficult. But
right.
I also work with the pros that they're working with. And I get a lot of referrals from golf pros. So I'll say, what are you working on? What are you trying to do? What are your goals? Or even text the pro during the fit and say, okay, here's where we're at. What do you think? If somebody keeps telling me they can't hit a 3-wood, I might put them into a 4-wood, but I don't want to do that if their instructor believes they need a 3-wood. So, I will call them and do that. I mean, my fits are not matter of fact. My fits take a long time because I want to do it the right way. I want the person to walk away feeling like it was a great experience and they got clubs that work. Yeah,
that's very, very important. Angela, it always amazes me just going back to what you were saying, the 99% wanting to hit it longer. And, a lot of times when I have somebody coming for lessons, I'll always take a look at where they are now. And, if I see that they're all over the place, distance is the last thing that you want to be focusing on.
Exactly right.
If you can't hit it straight. And I mean, nobody hits it, perfectly straight all the time, but I think it's obviously the PR machine out there is trying to, get everybody hitting it longer and so forth. But and I understand why they do that. But at the same token, I think people need to focus more on accuracy and consistency than worrying about how far. Worry about how far you hit it a little bit later on once you get the other two down. What's some of the biggest areas that the average golfer lacks in knowledge as far as when they're being fitted? What are some of the things that they really need to be looking for? If I was let me back this up. If I was a consumer coming in, what are some things that I should be looking at, and what questions should I be asking both the fitter and also my professional, do you think?
Let me go backwards for 1 second.
All right.
So what I do about when you say when they're hitting it straight versus far, I'll
right.
put some Dr. Scholl spray or a face tape on there. And I'll put it on their own clubs and see where they're hitting it. And then hopefully when we get the right clubs in their hands, the dispersion on the club face is better so they understand
right.
it. So I do that. And sometimes it's a challenge, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So I would say that the consumer is much more educated now.
Yes.
I will tell you, every once in a while I get someone that has no idea. But I will tell you most of the time they have come in and they have researched and they have learned and they say, I want to try the new Titleist driver. I want to try the new ping. They say it.
Yeah.
Now, what I do along the way, clearly because I'm looking at numbers, is if somebody says, I want to try the new R15 driver by TaylorMade and they can't get the ball off the ground, I will tell them it's a very low spinning driver and it doesn't get the ball up. So sometimes what they think they want or need isn't what they should get. So I think they're much more educated, I will tell you that. When they're brand new golfers, probably not. And that's when you kind of have to honestly explain to them that they don't need to get 12 or 13 new clubs. That if they got 5 or 6, they would suit them just fine for the moment.
Yep.
And then they could fill
right.
in around that.
Yeah, very, very good. Cindy, what are some of the things that you look for? I mean, obviously, you as a player and also as a teacher, you need to periodically, tune your clubs up and that. How often do you try to do that? I'm throwing you under the bus. I'm sorry.
I'm always
and now, why is everyone laughing? Yeah.
So because we think there's a holy grail out there that is going to be just a little bit better. There's always something the shaft's a little bit better, a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I need to go see Angela, I must tell you, because I haven't been in a few years. And she really
I would
does
say that
know
I tweak mine a lot. My irons I've had for a couple years. But I'm always looking for a little bit better shaft in my clubs, and I have so many shafts in my studio that of course I have to try them. And then I take
the other thing is I think for students the worst thing is the length and the weight. What do you think, Angela? I teach
so we don't have
beginners.
For any of the men we test everything off a 45-inch driver. Okay, which is short. I special order a lot of 44.5 for men. So I do a lot of 43.5 and 44 for women, and 44.5 and 45 for men. I mean, that's part of the issue that's out there right now with the clubs that are glued, that are not adjustable. They're 46 inches long, and go ahead and cut that to 44 and see what it feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the problem. That's kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. I will tell you that some of the manufacturers, Cindy Miller, when you make the shaft shorter, if they don't give you a different weight head, that the club feels awful.
Yeah, sledgehammer.
So there's that balance with getting it right.
Yeah, it's a science too. I mean, it's something that you have to. This is why it's important going to somebody like yourself, Angela, that has experience and knows how to fit people well. And I'm not knocking those in the stores, but a lot of times they don't have the expertise or experience, and certainly they're going to move whatever is popular on the shelf. But a lot of times, if people don't, I think that you hit it on the head. The consumers are certainly getting a lot more savvy and researching it beforehand. And I think before anybody goes to both purchase but also be fitted, I think you need to do a little bit of research and ask around. Talk to some of the pros. Who do they recommend? And as you said, go into Golf Digest and look at the top 100 club fitters in America and do a little research and find one in your area and get a few references as well if you need be.
An interview. I mean, you can call people. Yep. I mean, I can't tell you how many people call me and talk to me before they come to get fit. If that person doesn't take the time to phone you back and chat about you, then I would knock them right off the list. I mean, I think you have to research that, because I think as in any profession, there's good and there's bad or better. And my feeling is it's a huge investment.
Yes.
So find somebody that's an expert.
Well,
what
and
does
I think
it cost? I'm sorry. What does it cost to be fit for a driver, say, Angela?
So on a TrackMan, it's $125 for the hour. And irons are $175 an hour, or $175. So that's how it is if you just come in for one. If someone comes in for both, I change the price. Sure. But it's well worth it. It's well worth it because the machine doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. It tells me how much it's spinning. It tells me the land angle. It tells me is that going to stop on the green? I mean, that's one of the first things I ask someone when they hit their 7-iron. Does your ball stop on the green? And if they're not landing it at 40 or 45, it won't stop. The other thing I do is I do talk about golf balls with people. Mm-hmm. What golf ball do you use? If someone is spinning the ball a lot, I'll tell them to use a Pro V1X. So I ask people. It's amazing to me when I ask people, especially men, they all say Pro V1. And so many of them spin this thing so much that the X would help them out.
Yeah, it's true. But there's a lot of things that are overlooked and by golfers out there, and I think it's, as you said, I think it's very smart to interview some of the people and talk to them and because there's a lot of misinformation too. There's a lot of tips and things that you get online that sometimes are not always the best, and I think sometimes the consumer can be misinformed. So I think it's good to connect with somebody that does have a lot of knowledge, has a lot of experience, and has certainly been acknowledged by the profession as being a top, whether it be an instructor or club fitter in your case, or both. And speak with that individual, with he or she, and as I said, don't be afraid to pick up the phone or go visit their studio and spend a few minutes with them and get to know them and find out how they can help you, because it is an investment. You're right, Angela. I mean, it's not just a matter of purchasing the clubs. It's making sure if you're going to play this game, and I think this adds to a lot of the frustration for so many people, is they don't get fitted properly, they don't know what to do, and they just sort of haphazardly buy something and get out there, and it's not an enjoyable experience.
Well, Cindy, in your teaching, you see it, right? How many women or young kids show up with their father's steel-shafted heavy clubs that are 4 inches too long?
Yep.
And they can't make a swing.
No. And then they don't want to play. So
right.
This is going to help grow the game.
Exactly. Well, Angela, unfortunately, our time has run out. We want to thank Cindy, and I want to thank you for coming on the program today and sharing a little insight into an area that really doesn't get talked about as much as it should, and that is being fitted properly so that you can play your best golf.
And I thank you very, very much, and have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. All right.
Bye-bye.
Very interesting, some of the points that she made, and it is important, I think, for people to get out there and do a little research, but speak to some of these individuals that are in the profession that can help them, play better golf. And you're right, and she's right. If we want to play our best golf, we have to make sure that we're equipped properly and that we're fitted properly. And you're certainly going to be able to enjoy this great game at a higher level if you adhere to that advice. Cindy,
Absolutely.
Thank you as always, and glad you had a good time on your Mother's Day weekend, caddying and playing with and watching some of the juniors and that. But we want to thank all of you as well for joining us each and every week. We appreciate all the guests that we have, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Again, congratulations to Alejandra Llaneza for her win on the Symetra Tour this weekend, and thank you very much, Angela Aulenti, for joining us and talking about some great points in club fitting and so forth, and some of the new equipment that's come out here in this year. But thank you again. Make sure that you tune in next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time here on blogtalkradio.com's Women of Golf show. Thank you, Cindy. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you back here as well. And have fun in Kingsmill.
Thanks. Have a great week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.